Hey, what's going on? It's your man, Tim Jackson, and this is the No More OGs podcast, and I'm here today with a special guest. I'm so excited to have this individual on the show because he has accomplished a lot in a short period of time. I guess it's not really a short period of time. He's put in the work, and he's actually accomplished what his works have allowed him to accomplish. So, you know me, I like to introduce and bring people to this audience so that you can see that everyday people are out there doing some dope shit, and the average person that you know that's winning, you really don't know them because, you know, they not out there in the spotlight like a celebrity would be. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others my man, Mr. Money Madu, man. What's going on with you, man?
Well, man, glad to be here. I know it's Dallas, but
I knew it was coming. So Money Madu, man, that's the one thing about you that I always say to myself, man, you know, people can't be perfect. You know what I'm saying? The one thing about you is that you're a Houston guy, man. You know what I'm saying? But in all honesty, man, I've had an opportunity to work with you, man. We went on a speaking tour together. Man, I had an opportunity to do an event in Houston, and you pulled up on me, man. We sat down and chopped it up, and I feel like a lot of people need to hear your story, man. So just tell the people who don't know you, like, who are you, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, my name is Money Madu, born and raised in Houston, Texas. I am a Nigerian American, so my parents came here in the 80s. And, you know, from there, grew up in the southwest portion of Houston. So, you know, it's kind of weird, the life that I have now, or even the life I had from pretty much maybe until 8 and on, has been interesting because you could technically say I grew up in the hood, right?
Yeah.
Even though my life wasn't something of something that was bad. Like we still had everything that we needed, that was required. We didn't lack of anything, but we just didn't have the point where we just had everything that we wanted. It was in an apartment complex that wasn't in the best of the areas or whatever the case was. But, you know, at the age of 8, my parents finally bought a house. And from there, we started going to all these schools that were the better ones in the Houston area. From there, graduated high school and went to college in San Antonio, University of Texas.
UTSA? Yeah, I was going to say UTSA. Yeah.
And graduated with an electrical engineering degree. And then from there, started working out in West Texas. During that time frame, is when I purchased my first real estate property, which I'm sure we're going to get into later. But then I came back down to Houston, got my MBA from Pepperdine, and now just throughout this whole portion, I've been able to kind of, in a sense, retire from the engineering world and get into a point where I'm a full-time entrepreneur in the real estate space, the fitness space, the supplement space, and it's been a journey so far. I'm only 31 years old, but
31 years old, and you've accomplished all that already. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So let's talk about this some more because, you know, you casually kind of brushed over a lot of things. Like, yeah, man, you know, I got my engineering degree, and then, you know, I went to Pepperdine, and then, you know, I started, a couple businesses. Like, let's peel back some of those layers because, you know, when I met you through your athletic company, man, where you sell supplements, you sell clothing. And since then, you've evolved and you have that company still, but now you're in the lending in the real estate space. So talk about that. Talk about what got you into, you know, the athletic space, the supplement space, and then how did you merge and get into that space of being in mortgage lending? Because those are two totally different, completely different worlds on every aspect. But you're seeming to be successful in both.
Yeah. So with the fitness space, which is Phoenix, I started that company in 2018. That wasn't the first one. I would say since 2016, 2017, I have been learning in a sense how to build brands, build businesses as far as like in the e-commerce space. And so Phoenix was in a sense the child of a lot of failures, the trial and tribulations of old companies that I've started and it never really panned out. So a lot of the stuff as far as like marketing or how to, you know, do certain things, I was able to use those experiences and put it into Phoenix.
So you're saying essentially you made mistakes?
A lot. I still am.
You lost some money?
Shit ton. Shit ton.
Yeah. But the reason I asked you that is because, people come in my inbox and like, man, just give me a few tips on how to, and I'm like, there's no such thing as a few tips. I can give you the cheat code to this game, but if you don't go out there and execute it, you're going to continue to lose. And honestly, the way to win is to lose. Like, you literally have to fall on your ass, fall on your face, lose some money so you'll know what not to do. And I like to emphasize that here on this podcast, that there's no blueprint to success. Success is trial and error. You know what I'm saying?
You could give someone the step-by-step blueprint and it won't work for them.
Say that shit. Just say it again, man. Please say that one more time. Look into your camera and tell people that, man.
You could give someone the step-by-step blueprint and it still would not work for them. It's just something that's almost internal, because as life is, there's different intricacies. So what worked for you may not work for me, but I could see what you're doing and follow a similar path, but I had to tweak certain things that will work for me so I can make it. So it's not in a space where I'm trying to follow what you're doing, but I'm frustrated because I'm doing exactly what you're doing, but it's not working for me because I might not have the personality that you do to make a certain thing work. You know what I mean? So
no, you said that, man, because the personality, right? I've never been afraid to share things with people in business, because my thing is, in my mind and based on my results, you're not going to do it better than me. So I'm not afraid of you taking it away from me. And even if you're really, really good and you're better than me, the market is so vast with the internet that you can't take money out of my pocket. But a lot of times people say, Tim, I did exactly what you told me to do and it didn't work. And it's like, well, it didn't work because you need to make it yours. Right. Like you can't go out there and try to be Tim. You got to be you. Right. And a lot of people don't understand that success is being yourself. I started making money between the age of 30 and 37. Like you, between the age of 20 and 30, that was my trial and error period. Like fuck up after fuck up. And then when I turned 30 and start really focusing on my purpose and what I was meant to do, it was like the floodgates opened up, because I had made so many mistakes that I knew what not to do. Right. And I don't think people get that, man.
I mean, as far as me in the businesses that I've had so far, a lot of it is me just the spaghetti on the wall effect. I just go see what works. All right, this didn't work. Let me try something else. Because one thing about me, I'm not scared to fail. Like I know that whatever I do, at the end I will succeed. So I'm at the point where I'm going to try whatever. So if you have a tip that I think will work, or you believe that will work, guess what? I'm going to try it. If it didn't work, guess what? I'm going to try something else. It's not like I'm going to just quit or just stop or whatever the case is. One thing I've definitely learned is that you may need to pivot. So you might have a good business idea or whatever the case is, and it might not be working, but pivoting is something that's very instrumental. Because going back to your question initially with the fitness, Phoenix started off as just an apparel company, like gym apparel and stuff like that. And I would say in late 2021, I was able to pivot and introduce supplements in the space. And that's what actually helped Phoenix take off, as far as like some of the supplements going viral and organically just reaching a lot of people. So being able to know when to pivot is very instrumental.
Let's talk about that, because my real estate company went to a different level when I pivoted and started running it like a law firm. Mm-hmm. Like, I was sitting at home one day and I was watching like this cheesy commercial. Now, you from Texas, so I know you done seen the Jim Adler commercials, right? Sure. Jim Adler, the hammer, right? Like, Jim Adler, don't sue me, man. I'm making an example here, right? I grew up watching those commercials, man, and then I saw another commercial, I'm like, these dudes have been on TV for 30 years, bro. Years. Like, what are they doing? So I strategically said, I need to get around as many attorneys as I can possibly get around to learn how they market, because in the real estate space, we market a certain way and you have to do it this way. So I literally, I rented out space in my office to an attorney. Mm-hmm. I started going to parties with her. I started going to happy hours with her. I started sponsoring events for attorneys. And I literally shifted my entire marketing strategy to market like an attorney. And my business went to a totally different level, because within my space, nobody was doing that. It was new. Every agent, every broker had the same pitch. And when I would sit down in front of people, my pitch was completely different than what they were used to seeing, and I was winning the business. And so that pivot, man, like that's real, bro. Like people need to understand the power of pivot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go back and start seeing how these lawyers think. That's a good tip right there, because when you really think about it, these lawyers like the Jim Adlers and even the smaller ones like this the general guy, right? Like they've been on TV for a very, very, very long time, and clearly, if they've been on TV for a very, very long time, whatever they're doing is working.
It works. It works, man. And a lot of people don't see that, but it took me to say, I don't have to do it this way. I've done it this way for 7 years. Like it's not yielding me the results that I want. I literally need to do the exact opposite. And so I start doing the exact opposite, and I start seeing different results, man. And it's not that I didn't have the hustle. I just didn't really have the plan, the proper plan. Right. And with the right hustle and the right plan, like everything came together for me, man. So and even with you, like when I meet people, I tell people like, hey, I feel like this is gonna work. Do it, because I saw it work for me. You take it and you tweak it. But I'm telling you, man, like I'm gonna give you some game right now. A lot of attorneys, and I've said this before, so to the people watching this shit, and I gave you this nugget, I threw this alley-oop to you, especially the wholesalers. A lot of attorneys have to deal with divorces. Right. And divorce attorneys are some of the best people to reach out to for refinances, because think about it, in a divorce, they'll say, hey, I'm going to get the property and you're going to get this. So they have to refinance. It's literally a part of the divorce decree that you have to refinance that property. So why can't you as a lender start reaching out to the divorce attorneys and say, hey, I'm such and such with this company. I understand that you deal with divorces. In many cases in the divorce decree, they have to separate the funds. They have to do a refinance and get that person off the loan. If you ever have a client looking to do that, I'm your guy. And all you got to do is literally just send them like an edible arrangement once every quarter. All you got to do is literally send them some cookies from a Tiff's Treats or wherever, and you will be top of mind. And now this person is not only sending you all of their divorce refinances, they're telling all their attorney friends, and it literally just takes one attorney to buy into you. Right. Like that changed the game for me when I was like, hey, I know that, I would reach out to divorce attorneys like, hey, I know they got to sell the house, and she doesn't want to use his agent. He doesn't want to use her agent. You can appoint me. I'll put the house on the market. I'm a third party.
There's gonna be a follow up to this video later, and you're gonna see I close the deal using that strategy, going to the divorce attorney and because I am a lender now, being able to refi one of the properties, which is crazy because one of these properties I bought down in League City, which is like a suburb in the Houston area. I bought it because the people divorced, and I got it for
an amazing price.
Yeah,
bro,
just due to a divorce. So yeah, I mean that makes complete sense.
And it's not just with divorces; it's for people who are having legal. In Dallas, we have this thing that you can subscribe to. I ain't giving y'all that for free. I throw up a lot of alley-oops, but you got to stay tuned in for this. Right. There's this record that you can subscribe to that tells you every public filing every single day. So let's talk about this. You bought your first property. Which I think was very smart of you, because you got a job in West Texas. And I equate that kind of to people who get in the military, like they essentially have to go to these different bases, if you will. And you understood that, hey man, the money that I'm spending on rent, I might as well just own this. And whenever I'm talking to military guys, I know you weren't in the military, but I tell them, when you get to a duty station, buy a property. Well, Tim, what if I leave? You can always hire a property manager. Like, I refer property managers out all the time. Like, refer the property manager, because one thing is for certain and two things are for sure. Rent never goes down regardless of how the market is, man. Like, the real estate market can tank and the price value of a property can drop half the value, but the rent never goes down. Like, can you kind of speak to how you were able to leverage that property to build wealth to help you finance some of your other endeavors?
Yeah, well, just to take one step back to your point, I hate hearing the excuse of, I know I'm not going to live here forever, whatever the case is, because that's literally an excuse. Because anytime I've purchased a property since then, my whole strategy has been, okay, if I do have to leave, can I rent this out? Even if I don't cash flow that a crazy amount, can I at the minimum rent it out to where I'm breaking even? That's always been my strategy when I purchase properties. Because the thing is, I don't need to be living in my forever home. I'm not going to be in my until I get married. I'm not going to be in my forever home. So that has really been my strategy in purchasing a lot of these properties.
Why do you think that people have that forever mindset? Like, because I've never, like, my mother has been in the same house for 35 years, I want to say. Let me see. Since I'll be 40 next year. So we moved in that house when I was 6. So 34 years. And she paid it off a while back. But all of our neighbors, the original neighbors for the most part, like half of them are still there, right? So our parents, a lot of them were taught that foundational structure, like get a good job, get your house in a good community, live there forever, pay it off, get the gold watch when you retire, and never take a risk. Our generation is like, where the risk at? Like, you know, like if it ain't risky, you know, it ain't frisky. Like I ain't fooling with it. Like I've always been a risk taker. Like, but there's some people within our generation who they have that same mentality as our parents, or they're just afraid because they don't know. Like you didn't know going into it. You didn't even ask your parents because you knew they'd tell you no. Right. So like speak on that, man. Like speak on why that's so important.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. Risk means nothing to me. When we talk about high level risk or whatever the case is, like I'm on the top tier. Like I'll risk everything. And there's no issue. And honestly, I know I can do it right now simply because I have no other obligations as far as like kids or anything like that. So that makes things a little bit easier. But like for me, I know where I want to be in life and I know where I'm at now. And where I want to be, you're going to have to take risks. Playing it safe ain't going to be the route. And I've learned very early on, especially with the jobs aren't safe. They always say it's a security blanket. That's not the case. These jobs are not loyal to you. They will cut you off, no problem. You'll find your new replacement. They'll hire them within a week. So having a job isn't this security blanket that everybody makes it out to be. But even then, like I already knew. I would say 2017 is when I knew officially that I would not be in the corporate world for a long period of time.
Why not?
Just because I knew that. So as an engineer, you know, you make good money, but you're capped. So if I'm capped at, let's say, best case scenario, 200,000, you know, at the refinery.
That's it.
First of all, it took me a while to get to that 200.
Yeah, yes, it did.
Right. But I'm sitting here doing the exact same thing every single day. I have to ask somebody, can I go on vacation? Like one of the things I always say is like it used to piss me off that I would look out the window, be a beautiful day outside, and I'm stuck inside working. I want that option to go outside and work. It was literally that simple. And so for me, like having that risk, I already knew. Like since then, I've always been, like I said, I've been building these businesses or trying to learn how to run it, trying to learn how to generate money. And there's just something that shifts when you've learned that something that you created can be bought and someone wants it and it can make money. That you know that your income potential is really unlimited.
It's funny you say that. I learned that when I model my business like attorneys. When attorneys get ready to retire, they sell their business. When doctors get ready to retire, they sell their clients. I had a doctor that I was working with for years. Like he was my personal doctor. And I got this letter in the mail one day that said, I'm moving to California. And so I called him like, hey, what's going on? He's like, yeah, man, moving back to California, yada, yada, yada. But I sold my practice to this doctor and he's really good and you'll love him. I was like, you sold your practice? He's like, yeah, I sold my practice. Another attorney that I had used before in the past, I reached out to him again about some business. He said, oh, Tim, I'm out of the business. I sold my practice. Call this guy. Like you can literally sell your database. You can build something and there's a buyer for it. And a lot of people don't understand that with any business, you can sell it. Like for me, the goal is to get bought out. You know what I'm saying? My goal is to build something so dope that someone will come and offer me a couple of $2 billion and buy me out. And then I can go and start something similar in a different field because I know they're going to make me sign a non-competing clause, right?
Exactly.
But we were never really taught that. I was never taught that was an alternative to have someone buy your business.
Oh, that's 100%. I learned that probably over the last few years where like you really want to, that's really how you should look into going into a business. I mean, I personally am very selfish. So like if I'm building something, that's my baby. That's why I want to keep it.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, if someone's going to offer you, you know, multi-millions or $1 billion for your company, sell it. now you have this capital to either create the thing is you have the knowledge now, so you can create another company that's very similar, and you can enjoy the fruits of your labor at the same time.
A lot of people they talk about, oh man, I don't know why this person did that. It's like, you've never been in a position where somebody's offered you $2 billion. Like, shut the fuck up, man. like why are you trying to tell me what to do when you don't even own a piece of property, right? Like, we have too many people who are subject matter experts on shit that they've never experienced, and we got to start putting people in front of people that have actually done things and understand why you think that way and why you resolve issues that way. Like, you're an engineer. You guys mentally, like my nephew's an engineer. He's going to think everything through, and he's going to take the risk. It just is what it is. He knows before he presses go, these are all the risks. And now I can fall back. If this happens, okay, this is my next course of action. But too often in the real world, we don't think like that. We think like, I don't want to take the risk, so I'm going to play it safe. And playing it safe will keep you broke. It will keep you in. Playing it safe is literally the worst thing you can ever do in life.
People get pissed off at me because one of the things I do, like if you were to tell me an idea, in my head, I guess subconsciously, okay, I'm operating in the level of it's already going to be successful. So my brain automatically, you tell me your idea, I'm seeing what can go wrong. And I'm not even doing it in a negative way. I'm doing it in a way of, okay, if this can go wrong, that could go wrong, how can we combat it? That way, because stuff is going to go wrong. So why not have that mentality drawn up from the get-go so that you know what to expect and combat it? You know what I mean? But it pisses people off when they would bring an idea to me and they think that I'm being negative. It's like, no, just understand that these are some of the things that you're going to have to navigate through. What is your strategy to navigate through that?
That's the realest thing I think I've heard, because people want to get rich quick. And a lot of people get burned and get jaded by entrepreneurship because they see someone else doing good, and that person selling them that idea or selling that course or selling whatever it is doesn't tell them about all the shit that goes wrong. And I feel like one of the reasons I've been so successful, especially in real estate, is I always tell people what goes wrong. Like, you're gonna get sued. People are gonna lose their earnest money if you don't know what you're doing. Like, there's so many different risks, and in real estate we have this thing we say real estate is a game of 33%. 33% of the people are coming in as new agents. 33% of the people are doing all the work, and 33% of the people are leaving the field. And those two on the front end and the back end, their lifespan is about 2 years. It's literally 2 years, because that's how long it takes for the first renewal of your license. That first license renewal is a 2-year thing. Like, I think they do that on purpose because they know they ain't gonna last, right? They're gonna get jaded the first time they go out and show 15 houses and make an offer, and the person counsels. Like, it's so much that goes wrong. And when I explain it to people, I say, be prepared to lose a lot of time, effort, energy, and money up front. But if you stick to it, the reward is going to be huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about, man, what's your idea? Like, when you hear the term culture, right? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the term culture?
Pride.
Damn. Okay.
Pride.
Okay.
And
dive into that.
The reason why I say that is, for example, my parents are from Nigeria.
Right.
And in general, when you think about like people who are very prideful, you're going to think of Nigerians. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't gonna make no Nigerian jokes. I got a lot of Nigerian listeners. I ain't making no jokes. I mean, you threw a couple alley-oops when you told me you went to engineering school. I was like, I got so many Nigerian jokes, right? But let's talk about that. Like, keep talking about the pride, man.
So it's really been ingrained in me my whole childhood, especially from my father, that no one's less than to you. We're the best kind of thing. Like, everything has been top tier. Yeah. So if you were to come at me with some BS talking about how this is bad or how you're better than me, I don't believe that at all. So people look at me, they think I'm egotistical, I'm an elitist, I'm all that. And I will proudly say so. Because that's not an issue to me. Because there's too many people in this world who think less of themselves, and they're depressed. Everything is they play the victim. There's so much stuff. Everybody has stuff that goes on with them, and I think I made a tweet the other day. Confidence is what makes the difference when everybody has the talent. If your confidence ain't there, you're not going to be able to do anything.
You know what, man? Right now, we know. Oh man, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, man. You opened up a can of worms because, you know, I always tell people there's this big argument going on right now on social media about, you know, just people from immigrant backgrounds that come to the United States, you know, and I travel a lot, so I understand that. You know, when you visit a lot of countries, I'll take, for instance, I worked for a Korean company. I've been to Korea, right? Growing up, I always thought that all people from a certain region of Asia were really good at math. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they were all successful. But when you go to to certain countries, you realize that the elite people always just rise to the top. Mm-hmm. There's no way of putting it, right? Absolutely. And there's people in the country who are not so elite, that are not so poor. So do you think that the pride that you're speaking of, do you think that's more of a family-rooted pride, or that's more of a people-rooted pride? Because I'm sure when you go, and you know, I've had conversations about, you know, where you're from offline about how things are, but do you think that's like a whole cultural thing with everyone, or is that just select few people who have the same work ethic, pride, who were taught a certain kind of way? Because a lot of times we here in America, we from different perspectives, we get skewed viewpoints of how things are, when really the greatness is within the person, and it's not. It can, if that person would have been born anywhere else, they still would have been dope. What do you think?
Right. I think it's a mixture of both. Yeah. So I think there's an overall pride of being Nigerian, and then especially if you're a Nigerian in a different country like America, then you really almost have to double down on the pridefulness there, right. As well, because to leave Nigeria and to come here, that in itself is just ridiculous. And then so you're in a sense.
Talk about that, man.
You have family back home who are relying on you, so you come here.
So y'all deal with that too?
Yeah, you get your education, and then you're sending money back, and you know, and the intention was to go back. Like my parents were supposed to go back, and after they made everything work here, but obviously, like coming to America is not this. Everybody has this skewed vision of this the land of milk and honey. You're gonna get immediately rich, and everything is that, and you're just supposed to give them money. Yeah. It's not that simple. But either way, there's a lot of pressure that is
put on your shoulders.
Just being an immigrant, and I think a lot of people who may have been born here don't really realize that, and that's why maybe some people are a little bit more cold, because like. There's some stuff here that I have way too many people relying on me to make something happen. But I mean, just pride in general. Like I can say the same thing. Texas.
Oh, that's the land of pride. That's the land of pride. Right, if you don't know somebody from Texas that don't have a tattoo of Texas, you ain't from Texas, like, right?
No one else. There's no other really state besides maybe California that you're gonna see a tattoo of the state on you. Like
I have a tattoo of Texas on me, man. Like that was the first thing I got when I turned 18. Like I gotta get a tattoo. Texas is the dumbest shit now as somebody that's damn near 40, but it's that pride, man. Like, and you know, I asked you that about culture because you know I'm having this whole culture war right now. Like, what is culture? Specifically, black culture. You know, and I think about mainstream culture. And I look at some of the shit that I grew up believing where I'm from. Like, you know, I saw success. My neighborhood was like a really good melting pot. On my street, we used to call my street the United Nations, right? I had, you know, neighbors from Nigeria, Eritrea. I had neighbors from India. Like, you know, I had Vietnamese neighbors. I had white neighbors. I had Hispanic neighbors, black neighbors. So like our street was a melting pot. So I got a chance to see different cultures. But my neighborhood was also a melting pot. You had people from all over the city that moved into this newer community in Pleasant Grove, if you will. But as the time went on, it began to deteriorate, and you start seeing all kinds of shit. So, you know, literally in one household, you'd have, you know, a family where the person, you know, has a PhD, and then the same household, you know, you have a member that was in prison. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So when I think culture, I look at what people call the culture, like do it for the culture. And there's really nothing good that comes out of it from an economic standpoint. It's just turn up, act a damn fool, don't own anything. And I'm here to kind of erase that because I'm learning from different people who from different areas about how they view culture. And you said something to me, you said pride. And a lot of people have pride about this, what I call this bullshit ass culture that's not really doing anything for us, you know? But it's just interesting to get someone else's take on it because you see it from a totally different perspective, and that's how you view it, and no one can change what you think because that's what you know. Do you feel like sometimes that hinders you at all, like from certain relationships with people, or you just don't really give a shit?
Yeah, I mean, it would hinder because I don't care. Like, I'm pretty set on what I believe in. And because one thing about me, it's not like I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Like, I always welcome advice. Well, if I ask for it. And
he said, I welcome advice if I ask for it.
And or if you know, seeing someone else's perspective, I'm all about doing that. But at the end of the day, I take all the information and then I make my own.
You compartmentalize it and you say, okay, what, man, let's talk about that shit, man, because, you know, so I get into it with a lot of people sometimes online because there's this whole thing about respecting the elders. And I feel like there's a catch-22 in that, because elders do things like, it's hard to change the way a person thinks. Oh man, you got that look on your face like, let's talk about this shit, right? And so my idea of respecting the elders is showing them respect. Like, hey, I respect you. If you need something, I can do it. But it's not taking their advice when it comes to things specifically that they have no clue about. Like my mother, I love my mother to death. I will never take advice from my mother about real estate, even though she's a property owner, because even then when they bought properties, they bought them different than we bought them, right? And my mom's gonna watch this, and we tease each other all the time about this. Like I told her for years, like, you need to refinance your house. You need to refinance your house. Like, I'm in real estate. I'm gonna tell you the truth. She's like, no, because the people that on my job refinance, and that was when those arm interest loans, and all these people are losing their house, and I don't want to lose my house. I'm like, Mom, I wouldn't tell you. Right. I'm still her baby, right? So she's never gonna listen to me, right? Yeah. On the flip side of that, I've gotten to the point that, like, when I hear older people or elders talking, like, man, it's gonna sound bad, but man, that shit go in one ear and out the other, because there's wisdom there. Like, you know, I listen to the mistakes they made and I make sure that I don't make the same mistakes, but it's hard for me to take new advice because I don't understand how like, you're 31 years old, right? Yeah. And you literally just sat up here and said that, hey, if I ask for the advice, I'll take it, but if I don't, I'll compartmentalize it. And you're 31. So it's hard for me to take advice from people who haven't experienced certain things that require things. We have to do things differently to get a certain response, and they've been doing things a certain way. Like, what's your take on that, man?
No, I 100% agree with you, because similar situation, like the era that they grew up in, what worked for them is not going to work for us.
Oh, bro,
like,
it's not
at all. Like, not even close. So
at all,
they will give you this advice of what you need to do, and it's so crazy, but I just know it won't work. So I just like, all right, I hear what you say, but I'm not going to implement that at all.
I say, you know what? That's something to consider.
It's like, I'm really not going to implement that at all, because, I mean, I give an example. Like, I love my mom, and she's a business owner.
Yeah.
She's a business owner, successful business owner.
Yeah.
And she wanted me, and I maybe still want, to have a job, the security of a job.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are a successful business owner. Why would you want me to get a job?
That's funny.
That job. It doesn't make any sense.
That's funny, because my mom worked a really good job, and she told her she didn't want us to do that. So I think she was like, I don't care what you do, just don't do this, right? So like, me and my sister, we're essentially entrepreneurs. Like, my sister is in insurance, so she's an IA, I believe it is, right, an adjuster, and travels all across the United States and works on her own terms. Man, my sister's living her best life, right? But my mother would never do something like that. She needed, they were taught, graduate high school. If you don't go to college, get you a good job at the government, you know what I'm saying? Right. And work it until you die, right? And that's literally what my mom has done, right? But I don't take practical everyday advice from older people, not because I don't respect them, but because it typically does not apply to how we do things now.
If anything, like I said, with anything, my thought process is, if you're telling me something, what is something that you're saying that I can apply? So, like, usually whenever I read books, well, more so those audio books, most of the book might be fluff. But as long as I got one or two pieces of information out that book, it could be a great book to me, because that might have been a missing piece for me doing something within a business, or having something within a relationship with someone else to continue to grow. So there's a lot of people have a lot of fluff, but it's always about listening for something that can help you.
I want to hit on something else because I know I'm gonna get some emails about the whole elder thing. I think it's important for us also to understand and acknowledge one of the reasons that I don't take the advice too much is because our parents lived in a time where a loss was catastrophic. Like if you lost your job, that could wipe out your whole family. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't speak on you per se, but I can only imagine that if things wouldn't have worked out for your parents here, and I actually read a book about the migration of Nigerians. Like I had to do a study in grad school about how like 4 Nigerian people went to the UK and then 4 came here. They went to school, they went back, they taught it. And then the second wave, like literally we're living in the first generation of Nigerians are still alive, Nigerian Americans, right? But what if it wouldn't have worked out? You know what I'm saying? Like, and with my mother and my father and people in my family, like they all had good jobs, but they depended on that job so much they didn't take any risk. They went to work, they shut the hell up. They did what they had to do because they had kids to take care of and they didn't want to have risk. And back then during the civil rights time, anybody can come up to you and just essentially kill you. We lived in the South. You got to think about Dallas is not a black city.
No.
Dallas by far is not a black city, right? Like Dallas is still one of the most segregated cities in the nation. And in grad school, I did a study on Houston. Houston is probably one of the blackest cities. You have Atlanta, you got your Baltimores and stuff, but in Texas, by far, the black community in Houston is thriving 10 times more than the black community here. So the risk and the rewards were just different with them because there was no reward when they risked. Right. And so that's why I say I go a different direction. I teach William about risk. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, and that's perfect. That's perfect. Another thing I kind of want to bring up too, especially with adults, I always say this. In general, I always focus on the kids because the adults are set in their ways, right? And so kids, at least you can still shape their mentality to expose them to certain things that can get them to imagine the possibilities of what can happen. Adults, they're going to use their feels and their fears and
we're broken. They're broken, man,
to make it go down. So that's why for me, if you are in a mindset where you are pretty much stuck in your ways, listen, I'm going to say my piece. But after that, if you're not going to take it or if you're pretty much stuck in your ways, I'm not going to try to break down that door.
Wait, say that again. You said if a person is stuck in their ways, you're not going to even
deal with them.
Why not?
That's extra stress on me. Working on something I'm knocking on a door and hitting my head on a brick wall for no reason. At least with a kid, I know that there's a chance that they could become something. Because my whole thing is this: if kids have the opportunities, if they have the exposure to do whatever without someone telling them what they can't do. You would be surprised about what can happen. Like telling someone, man, you could probably, be able to build the first house on the moon, right? And a kid might be able to be that person to do that if he doesn't have somebody in the back of his head telling him he can't.
He doesn't know what he can't do.
Exactly. So he might have the ability to do that, but it's someone that doesn't have the ability telling him that he can't, that is what ruins everything.
That's gonna be one of those clips that you see on Instagram. That's gonna be the marketing clip, right? I was reading a book and it said that this guy showed up late to a statistics class and he saw a problem on the board. And he thought to himself, man, this is an odd problem, but he thought it was homework. So he went home and, 3 days later when it was time to come to class, he hands in a sheet of paper and he solved the problem. And it turned out to be this problem that had never been solved.
Right. I think I've heard about it.
And I was like, he went into it not knowing that this was the unsolvable problem. His mind was just like, oh, damn, we got homework. Right. And a lot of people don't understand that being around the wrong people at the right time can ruin you, man. I want to speak to that, and then we're gonna end on this note. The people that you surround yourself with, are these people that you've known your entire life, or have you found yourself putting yourself in positions to meet new people to reach newer goals?
Mixture. So obviously I have my day ones in a sense that I have in their place, but they're in a certain place. For me to elevate to where I need to go, I'm networking with more people because for the most part, I would have to have new friends to get to that next level. Now I can't be in a place where I'm trying to drag someone up with me when I'm not even where I'm trying to go yet. Okay. So to get to where I need to go, I have to network with the right people, be with people who have already done it. And that's one of the biggest things is knowing how to, be around the people who've done what you're trying to do. A lot of people, they might see someone successful, but they're not successful in the thing that they're interested in. And so they're trying to get advice on something that won't work for them. Like if I'm trying to, sell supplements, right? I need to be in contact with the founder of like Goalie or, some of these other competitors I've done really, really well to see what they were doing, because they would give me certain type of advice if they really wanted to, that would help propel me to get to the next level. Not someone that is
change it, keep your mindset right.
or even like saying someone's a successful athlete. Yeah, they made a lot of money, but they're not making the money that in the arena that I'm trying to make money in.
Oh, I don't think people understand what like the importance of what you're saying right now. Like, just because someone is successful in one area doesn't mean they're going to be successful in the other area. And I tell people, like, this is why I have 5 different attorneys. Like, attorneys practice different types of law. You know what I'm saying? This is why it's important for me to deal with certain people. When I have a question about something specific, I call that specific person. I don't ask you for your approval, because that's what I'm doing. When I'm asking someone their opinion, I'm essentially seeking their approval. Like, man, tell me that I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And then we both wrong. Right. Then I go and put up $10,000-$15,000, or I go up there and put up my life savings on this badass idea when I literally could have paid an attorney a couple $100, or I literally could have found the subject matter expert in that field and said, hey, what would it cost to sit down with you for an hour? And I could have saved $20,000. But a lot of people don't understand that. Like, they go and talk to the wise person in their family. And that's why I don't take advice from old people, right? Because as wise as they are in life, they may not be wise in that situation. I always tell the story about my uncle, who was like my idol growing up. One of the most wisest person I ever met. When I told him I got my real estate license, he said that was the worst idea ever. And then he began to tell me his experience with real estate. And he had a shitty experience, Madu. A shitty experience. Like, it was a really bad experience. And I thought to myself, like, damn, that's fucked up that you went through that. That ain't got shit to do with me. You know what I'm saying? And listen to this. Not only was I successful, his daughter is a successful real estate investor. Like, successful down in Houston, actually. I mean, she was doing wholesaling before it was even called wholesaling. You know what I'm saying? And that's his daughter. Yeah. So she didn't listen to him either.
Sometimes it's great to, know that people mean well.
Yeah.
But their purpose is not your purpose.
Man. And he was a millionaire. My uncle was a millionaire.
Their purpose
so
is
it's
not
like,
your purpose.
Just imagine, like, that's why I say the culture we got to really redefine this culture, because there's people out there who are millionaires, who have platforms, who have validation or verifications next to their name. And we listen to them as the holy grail. Like, well, if they said do it, don't do it. If they said it's right. No, that's not how the game works. They're not the subject matter expert in what you're trying to do. Their purpose ain't your purpose. And that's why we have to redefine this culture and start understanding, explaining to people that what's for you is for you. The idea is the validation. That's all you need. If that idea was given to you, that's your validation. Go out there and seek help from someone from that source, man.
Find your tribe that can help you go with that. Because, like, even to the other point, right? Like, similar situation whenever I bought my house in 3rd Ward. Like, I bought a house in the hood specifically to revitalize it. Like, whenever I bought it, the place was still shit.
I bet they were like, what are you thinking?
Don't be out there past 8 o'clock. It's dark. I hear gunshots and stuff, but it's not toward me. Yeah. And the place is still changing. And the value, and over the last year, the way the valuation has skyrocketed, and I know it's going to continue to skyrocket. No, I made the right decision, because I don't bother nobody. And even though I am in the hood, I do know that same thing when people talk about look at the city plans and this and that. the city is about to do a lot of changes.
Man, they about to.
It's in a great location,
bro. When I tell you, my cousin, I'm telling you about Houston, that's where she invests. She's bought so many properties in Third Ward. Like I'll tell you off camera. I don't want nobody trying to find her, but I mean, one of the houses she lives in. I remember she told me when she bought it, like for what she bought it for what it's worth now, it's like it's a crazy number, but people don't see the vision. Because there's other people in their head. Like we bought properties. We bought a house for $20,000, bro. That house is multiplied by 10 in 4 years. But when we were buying the properties, people were like, "I don't want to live over there." I didn't tell you to live over there. I told you to buy the property.
Whenever I was building that house, the home inspector, every single time, this neighborhood is pretty rough. I mean, I really wouldn't like. I didn't ask you for your 2 cents. I already made my decision because I had the vision. I already know what this property is going to be worth in 5 years.
Let me ask you a question. How long does it take you to get to downtown?
From
where you at?
Shoot, less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes, bro. It takes us.
I see the skyline from my porch.
Bro, it takes me, for one of the properties that we have, it takes 5 minutes to get downtown. It takes a minute to get to the State Fair of Texas. Like... Yep. And you trying to tell me that I'm not in a good location? I'm right by the train line. But people thought I was crazy. Those same people be calling me, "Hey, man, you got some more than properties over there?" Mm-hmm. Like, if you get that idea, the idea is the validation, man. Man, how we going to wrap this up, man? Where can people find you at, bro?
Shoot, all over social media. Instagram at Money Madu. Twitter at Real Money Madu. You can go to my website, moneymadu.com. From there, there's usually a lot of stuff that you can work with me. I have my book, so I'm a published author as well. 10 Reasons Why You're Living Senseless. You can find it on Amazon, personal finance book. I have courses, how to build your own brand, how to get started in real estate, how to find your first property. Man, I have a whole bunch of shit, but most of it you can find on the website. I have the Black Sea Group where, I'm using that to, just educate the community on investing in general. And that's within real estate. Cause I did have an investment club with that, and we grew it to pretty much 6 figures in a 2-year time frame.
It's dope.
Before COVID hit. And then we just ended up closing it down and giving everybody, we closed it down we were at a 46.64% return.
Damn,
as the group.
That's not bad
in that 2-year time frame. So I was very proud about that. Done the similar situation with pulling money to buy houses. Mm-hmm. So people who've never been in a situation where they would have been a property owner, and now they were, because I've been able to have skin in the game with them and have them purchase a property. Because a lot of this stuff is just exposure and getting that first one so they can know that it's possible.
Bro, I always tell people, once you're exposed to something, you can't unlearn it. And too often in the culture, we get exposed to a lot of bullshit. That's why when you walk into a school, I always tell people, when I go talk to a school in Plano, the response of what do you want to be when you grow up is totally different when I go talk to a school in South Dallas. Everybody in South Dallas, they typically, East Dallas, West Dallas, anywhere in the city, the black kids specifically are only exposed to sports and entertainment.
That's the problem.
And everywhere else, they're exposed to everything else, right? And once you start planting that seed of exposure, like, you cannot unlearn it. Like, it will keep you up at night thinking to yourself, damn, that's possible. When we took the boys on the trip to Memphis, Atlanta, and Birmingham, we specifically made sure that we exposed them to shit. We stayed in a mansion in Memphis. Literally, that was on the state line of Memphis or Tennessee and Mississippi. So the front of the house was in Tennessee, the backyard was in Mississippi. Like, those kids had never seen no shit like that. Then we went to Atlanta. We stayed in the Westin downtown, the little circle building. Every kid had a city view room, right? They never seen no shit like that. We rented Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans with PlayStations and shit, and they had never been in no shit like that. And 10 out of those 15 kids are still on the honor roll until this day. Several of them have graduated. That's awesome. Think about that. Awesome. And it's all from the exposure. It's like, damn, I can have this. Yeah, man, you can have this, but it's going to take a little bit of hard work. So putting them around people that are like the Money Madus of the world, the Tim Jacksons of the world, the George Pitts of the world, like, to see that we regular people, man, we literally are your neighbors next door that's doing some dope shit. You just don't know about us because that's not what's promoted to us.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate that in general for for us as a people, a lot of the information, unfortunately, is coming from social media, TV, the internet, because the parents are working.
That's real, man.
So if that's the only thing that's being promoted and that's the only thing that you're seeing, and that's the only thing that your friends are seeing, how y'all really elevating? Now, you might have that friend that's in a group that is completely different, but that's just a random one-off. Like I always say, like with LeBron, right? His situation, he's not supposed to be who he is, like at all. Business-wise, especially business-wise. Like, but he was able to make his way out of all that, and then on top of that, put his friends on. So it's just like when it's for you, it's gonna happen regardless. But for the people where it doesn't happen to them naturally, that's where they need to be exposed to the right things or be around the right type of people. Because if you're going to be easily influenced, it needs to be with good stuff. And unfortunately, right now, they're being influenced with the wrong stuff.
That's what we're here for, man. That's what this No More OGs podcast is about, man. Those guys that we thought were our OGs, these people that we thought were really giving us game, like that shit has not materialized and never will materialize. It's gonna put you in the same place, which is, dead in jail, broke, complaining, making excuses. And there's a level of accountability that we're gonna have to, as a people, start to acknowledge and accept and start being allowed to be held accountable for, because ain't nobody coming to save us, bro. Nobody coming to save us at all, man. Well, listen, man, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I know you got to get back to Houston, man. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate your time, man. The most important asset that we have is our time. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I'm going to wrap it up on this note, you guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow. Give my guy Money Madu a follow. Check out the website that he provided to you all. The link and everything that he says is going to be in the description. It's your man, Tim Jackson. This is a No More OGs podcast. I'm out.